You know, Howard Thurman, it's a great quote by Howard Thurman, which says, don't ask yourself what the world needs. Ask yourself what makes you come alive, because what makes you come alive is what the world needs. Ooh, bars. That man was so cold. You know Howard Thurman, right? Jesus Disinherited. Howard Thurman pastored a church in San Francisco, the People's Church, in the 40s. Stood at the pulpit once for 8 minutes, straight silence. That's just so good. But that's what we, and part of our call and part of our work here at the Firehouse and my journey in ministry is to help have a space where young people can come alive, right? It is crazy because when cats come alive, they're scared of it,
This is Rosalind Hernandez, and you're listening to We Got Us. Stories of faith, justice, and collective hope. This season is an immersive journey that invites you to witness how neighbors and local leaders are answering a powerful question. How do we acknowledge brokenness and challenge oppression to cultivate and preserve communities so everyone can flourish? In communities that are often marginalized, people are still creating spaces of hope, justice, and shalom. In these stories, our guests say, even when systems fail us, we rise together because we got us. In this episode, we have the story of Pastor Phil Jackson, a story that reflects passion, authenticity, and the importance of knowing our personal talents, preferences, and callings.
Tune into the CCDA podcast, where we're dedicated to seeing flourishing communities with Christians holistically engaged. Our network of Christians is passionate about community transformation. Experience powerful teachings from our annual conference, engaging interviews, and enriching training courses. Join us as we journey together towards shalom with the Christian Community Development Association.
Pastor Phil has been working with youth and young adults since 1987. He started as a youth pastor in Kansas City, and in 1994, he joined Lawndale Christian Community Church in Chicago. During the Chasing Justice Chicago pilgrimage, as Pastor Phil told us his story and the story of the Firehouse Community Arts Center, he mentioned how working at Lawndale gave him a certain freedom.
Lawndale gave me a freedom of, I'm ordained Baptist, so I'm from that kind of sort of a traditional spot, but not so traditional in some ways. But when I came here, I'm like, yo, we're doing this? It was just like, oh, let's go. Like other churches, in a certain sense, they want you to be in the office all day. Like the kids out here, like, what am I doing? I need to be at the school, I need to be at the juvenile detention, I need to be on the block. And so I was just on the block all the time, talking to cats, chopping up. Yo, what's up? You good? You good? We good. So it took a minute, man. But we could never take them back to the church. They didn't want to come to the youth center.
But Pastor Phil didn't get discouraged. He kept cultivating relationships with young people, getting neighbors and community leaders involved, and doing things in a not so traditional way.
So in 2003, we started this church called The House. Led by and directed by young people who said this is how we want it to look like. And so it was one service a month on the first Saturday. And so we had 4 weeks to plan one service.
Of course, this was no ordinary service. They had rappers, breakdancing battles, spoken word, and other forms of performing arts. And between 400 and 500 teens and young adults showed up for the house church services.
And so it was a beautiful thing. So those are the things that young people kind of created, man, different battles and fun things like that. And those same young people said, where can we do the arts at every day? I said, that's a great question. So we started doing like a film class, a makeshift cooking class. And then we formed a nonprofit in 2006. And then in 2007, we bought this building and began to do arts, to create arts to come alive, you know?
The building he's talking about is an actual firehouse. The fire department sold them the Firehouse building in 2007. And that's why the organization is called the Firehouse Community Arts Center of Chicago. It was a direct response to the needs of the young people in the community. Now we need to pause and go back a little bit. Okay, so it's 2003. The young people are leading the house church services. Those services would end late at 9 or 10 p.m. And after the services, Pastor Phil and other leaders would go to the streets. They would be out there from like 10 to 2 in the morning, sometimes de-escalating conflict, but also meeting up with guys that they already knew. Guys that would participate in events or do community hours, but who didn't go to the house church service. And they would just talk to them, get to know them, and invite them to eat at a late night spot.
And it was all about just knowing that God's presence is in that space, right? And then things come up and questions, talk about different things like that. But it's just believing I don't have no magical words. I don't have the Romans road. I'm just here trying to follow God myself and trying to figure it out with you in the same space. And in the midst of all of that, right, you bump into complicated injustice situations, right? How come you're getting arrested on something and we're going to court and this is the third time it's continued, but this public defender doesn't know who you are still for the third time? We got to find a way to find somebody who cares about, this is not, I'm not throwing shade, but I'm throwing shade, but this is not a Puff Daddy lawyer situation where you get you off on everything, but this is, maybe let's find justice in this joint.
Justice. That's what Pastor Phil and his team work towards. They have helped so many young people by advocating for and with them and helping them find the resources and the services they need. They have connected young men and women to healthcare, job opportunities, training programs, and other social services. And things have changed since 2003, but Pastor Phil and his team keep doing this work. Now the Firehouse has 3 main areas of focus with multiple programs in each. The first is violence interruption. This is for young adults, usually between 17 and 30, who are caught in cycles of violence. The second program area is Spark Arts. These programs serve youth from 11 to 24, and this is where they do prevention through art disciplines like mural painting, dance, cooking, and music. And the third is workforce development. The Firehouse has launched a catering company where young people can learn to cook, earn money, and gain skills that open up new futures. Pastor Phil and his team have many stories about the young men and women that they walk with. To hear some of these stories, all you need to do is an online search for the Firehouse Community Arts Center of Chicago. But when a local news host asked Pastor Phil about the impact of their work, he didn't share stories. He had numbers.
We have so many great organizations on the show, and a lot of times we ask, like, tell us about your impact, but you actually know about your impact because there's scientific research to back it up.
Yes, it is. And we partner with North Park University and they take our data. We've seen since 2021 a 73.7% decrease in murders in those 3 areas that we serve in North Lawndale because of our work.
A 73.7% decrease in crime is an incredible, measurable impact. And yet, as with many nonprofits, funding is not always enough for the work that the Firehouse is doing. During a call, I asked Pastor Phil, what is at stake if the Firehouse or places like the Firehouse can't keep serving the community?
So Firehouse isn't here, something is not there in Humboldt Park or a community center or after school program in a school, and it's like, I'm not valued. There's nothing else for me to do. There's no the resources are only for those who are privileged and have access to that thing. Those opportunities for other folks, it's that perpetuating that narrative. If something's not there to say, no, you count, you matter, we need to get these guys, there's that level of belief in you and what you believe in yourself towards a better life, and impacting your community with it, is what's at stake, right? You stop one kid from going to jail, you enable the whole family resources to be kept, to pay rent, to keep the lights on, to buy more food, to get the diapers, and to have the birthday party for the baby. So it's a whole effect of that that takes place. But it's just like, mugs are seeing the value of what they're doing that's rippling into residents training their kids how to ride bikes down the road that they may not have typically done because they were scared of the jump off boys doing something crazy. So all of a sudden you like that norm. Pretty soon you're like, hey, let's get this grass cut. Let's do this. Let's put a garden over here. Let's help this senior. All of a sudden it becomes that self-worth begins to be contagious, right? And in a different space. So it's a lot that directly and indirectly affects the community when these things change, and begin to happen in a domino.
What's at stake isn't just a program or a building. It's actual lives of people that keep living and don't just become a homicide statistic. It's the belief that young people in neighborhoods like North Lawndale are worth investing in. When spaces like the Firehouse aren't adequately funded, it's not just services that are lost. It's lives, health, dignity, belonging, hope, and a future. But when they have what they need to do their work and respond to the needs of the community, when there are people with support that say you matter, you count, and you have talent, and let's get you what you need, it has positive ripple effects. Teens stay in school, young adults get certifications, streets are safer, young people have more opportunities, families have more resources, there's less violence, and the community thrives in many ways. That's the collective flourishing brought about by the gospel hope, which in this case is delivered through hip-hop, through the arts, and through holistic justice in a local community. That's the impact of leaders and neighbors who have been telling the young people of North Lawndale, not just through words, but also through actions, we love you and we got you. Now, here is some practical advice and encouragement from Pastor Phil.
So what are two practical pieces of advice that you can give either to people that are beginning in the justice journey or to people who have been in it for a while?
Well, first, I would say find the particular niche that you may really jam in. There are so many issues of chasing justice around an array of different noble causes. And you can't be so thin that you don't know the deep systemic problem so that you can speak to it, so that you can endure for the long haul. Because the passion and the anger and the frustration can cause you to be like, damn it, I'm going to all these daggum. This is But find the word you may have that's potent for you. So I say that so that one, you don't get burnt out in 3 weeks. And you're like, I thought I was going to make a dent in 3 weeks because the issues are real and they're hard and they're long. And there have been people fighting these efforts for real. But it's about long walk, same direction, consistently throwing those jabs. So that's one thing. Two, as I ask my team this all the time as it pertains to our work, like, what are we not seeing? What are we not doing? So be creative. Do it scared. Do it scared. I don't know how it's going to work, but we're going to all come. So you have a word that maybe is God-given. It's unique to you. And then two, push the envelope. Figure out a unique way to do it. Have a daggone block party get a permit to do a block party in Broadview where ICE is at. We're going to have a block party. And we're going to, we're going to have, so y'all can't even move because we got the street block and we got bouncy houses and now, who knows? Now it's like, dang, we can't get out because who gave this permit? For our art stuff, we say, making the familiar strange.
Any words of hope or encouragement for folks?
Words of hope are realized because you stepped into that space. If this, it's like folks are needing where your niche is or where your calling is or that particular, whether it's putting the tables up, putting the shirts out, or whether it's signing folks up or petitions, that may not be where somebody else's jam, but it may trigger somebody else to be like, yo, I got Thursday then. That's how you do it that easy. And they jump on that. Your movement, you're maybe not the one to start the whole thing or create the whole new organization and do this. And that's okay. But you even stepping into it, it's like somebody's watching you, man. Now it can be doable. We got a big God and little bitty problems. as huge as they may be to our own humanity, God is like, I'm bigger than all of this. Like, so trust in this big God to use you in whatever way it might be to turn the corner. I'm praying and waiting for somebody in this daggone world who sees this, who's on the other side of whatever aisle, to say, this is wrong, whatever the case may be. Anyway, I just say that you are the hope as you step out and whatever phone calls or whatever is needed. So never deny how great things happen because of small things. Read the book, The People's History of the United States by Howard Zinn. That'll tell you right there how folks made changes who didn't let their anger grow docile. They stepped into spaces and didn't know where it was going to go. They just knew this wasn't going to happen anymore. This was not going to happen anymore. So yeah, keep it going.
If you listened to the first episode of this season, you had actually already been introduced to Pastor Phil and Jamal's story. He sat before a parole board to testify on behalf of Jamal. Here's some of what he said at the hearing.
Good morning. My name is Pastor Phil Jackson, and I serve as a founder and CEO of the Firehouse Community Arts Center in North Lawndale on the west side of Chicago. And I am here today because I love Jamal. I'm here because I have served youth and young adults and who are been labeled as the most violent young men and women for the last 37 years. And that's been my work on the streets, in the church, and now in our own nonprofit with the Firehouse Community Arts Center. To have the weight of these many years and knowing that this is your call and your passion, it is to me an ideal situation for him to be hired at the Firehouse Community Arts Center. We believe hiring Jamal, because of his own commitment in this journey, without a nudge, without access, without something already created there in the prison system, he's pursued that he would bring that same gift to us on the streets in North Lawndale.
I wanted you to hear this because it's just one of the many instances in which I have seen Pastor Phil practice what he preaches. You see, Pastor Phil is very clear about his calling and his mission: to serve youth and young adults who have been forgotten by the systems and pushed into violence. He knows what makes him come alive. He knows his lane. He understood his assignment and has been standing on business since 1987. So I want to ask you, what makes you come alive? What is your lane or your niche? And maybe even, what has come alive in you that makes you scared? Pastor Phil's story reminds us that collective flourishing doesn't start with perfect systems. It starts with people who know what makes them come alive and are willing to step in and do things even when they're scared. And that great things happen when scared normal people who know their lane just keep showing up and getting together to take care of each other. In the next episode of We Got Us, Stories of Faith, Justice, and Collective Hope.
One thing that I learned here is that there is a lot of distrust in the healthcare system, especially among our African American patients. And it's totally valid. The history of the American healthcare system is quite racist. So kind of first recognizing where that stems from was important.
With the passage of President Trump's big, beautiful bill, there are lots of questions surrounding cuts to Medicaid. 3.4 million people in Illinois are on the taxpayer-funded medical program. Governor J.B. Pritzker estimates under the new bill, 330,000 will lose coverage.
This podcast season was made possible by the Storytellers Grant from Christians for Social Action. This episode was produced, content edited, and narrated by me, Roslyn Hernandez, with video and sound editing by Nasim Bolas. A big shout out and special thanks to Pastor Phil for sharing his story and for sharing about the amazing work of the Firehouse Arts Center of Chicago. The theme song for this season is We Got Us, and it was produced in collaboration with Common Hymnal. To learn more about this episode, you can check out the show notes. If you haven't already, Share, like, leave us a review, and subscribe so that you don't miss future episodes. Please keep the conversation going on YouTube comments. This episode is available on our YouTube channel, and you can find us at ChasingJustice_. And that's Chasing Justice without any spaces, ChasingJustice_.